Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of General Geekery. I am Brian, and with me, as always, is JD.
Hello.
Uh, we're going to try something technologically fancy here. I don't know how it'll work, probably won't, but we'll see how it goes. If you like it, let us know in the comments. If you think it's stupid, let us know in the comments. But I think one of the things that we do a lot is review figures, but we don't have a lot of good images of the figures that we review. So I was going to try and fix that. Um, by having this third window here. As you can see, what we're going to review today is the Hiya Toys Pimp Daddy Destro, or Profit Director Destro, as it's known. Um, they're kind of interesting. It was a Shanghai Wonder Festival exclusive, so it was only available at a convention in Shanghai, and the production uh, was limited to 500 pieces, which makes these things I always kind of hesitate to throw out the word rare because that's so subjective. You know, what JD and I may consider rare, somebody's got 50 of these things. Not this particular thing in general, but every time I say this is a rare figure, like I got a Ninja Viper last year, and I would consider that a rare figure. You don't see a lot of those.
It's certainly hard enough to come by to be considered rare. Um,
And and then yesterday on Facebook, I saw somebody with a baseball bat case that was lit, and it was full of Ninja Vipers.
well, that person spent a considerable amount of money to fill that. He would have spent less money on baseball merchandise to go into that case, I think.
Yeah, you could have gotten probably an autographed bat by your favorite player for 500 for whatever it cost to
Yeah,
for all of those Ninja Vipers. Um, but I think a production value, a production number of 500, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it that that's a pretty limited run, and that constitutes rareness.
that usually constitutes a higher price than you paid, too. So,
Yeah, and that was the thing. I because we had talked about this on the show just for a couple minutes, just saying that it was a thing when we were talking about the Hiya Toys GI Joe stuff. As an aside, Destro has shipped. Our buddy Marcus in England has one, and he's repainted it to be Red Jackal, and it's a pretty nice custom. So it's cool to see people customizing those. And I saw that Lady J is shipping. So anybody that's got a pre-order for the Hiya Toys Lady J, I expect to see that in the mail here pretty soon.
I
Uh,
will end up with one of those figures eventually. I don't know when because I didn't pre order it, but it is Lady J, and I do have most versions of her. So I hesitated on pre-ordering one because honestly, I don't need it right now. But at some point, when I have when I have a more interesting, diverse, like when I have a display of various toys and not just heaps and bins and stuff, I would like to have one of those figures at some point to represent the character. But
Fair enough.
until then, um, I will live vicariously through people who do.
Yeah, and I considered getting one for a custom, but still kind of on the fence about that. I find um the prices are actually fairly reasonable because they run about 24 bucks a piece, which sounds pretty expensive, but when you consider it's a very well articulated, very well painted, very well built 3 3/4 inch action figure that is exclusive outside of the United States,
Yeah, it's not bad.
yeah, I think that suddenly, uh, if it was available through Big Bad Toy Store, you know, I think 20 bucks still would not be unreasonable. but 25 bucks to have it
Well,
from China is, I think it's on the higher side, but for the uniqueness and the quality, I think you're getting what you're paying for on those. Have not been disappointed with any of the Hiya GI Joe figures that I've gotten. Um,
I think considering
I've got
that
four.
vintage collection Star Wars figures go for $17 now, just the basic ones go for like $17. No, I don't think it's unreasonable for a Hiya Toys GI Joe figure to
Hi, baby.
go between 20 or $24. No, I don't think it's unreasonable. Um, Considering they probably have a production run similar to what Boss Fight makes their stuff in. Yeah, I do think that's perfectly. That's what Boss Fight charges
Yeah, that's
for their 18 scale figures, and yeah, I do. I think that's reasonable in the market as things are right now. People like to look back and say, "Oh, back when 118 scale figures were 10 or 12 bucks each." Well, yeah, but that's well more than a decade ago.
yeah, it's
Um,
pushing 15
it's
for that.
yeah, those days are so far gone. It's hard to even remember that there was a time that you could go into a store and come out with two figures for the price of one. What one costs now, and it's just I can look back at nostalgia like that, and I just think if if that's how you're measuring what things cost nowadays, of course it's going to seem expensive. But at the time, we thought it was expensive then too.
Yeah,
So
it's funny you should say that because I was just thinking about the time when Toys R Us raised the price on the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures to $10. And I remember just the rancorous uproar that went
yeah,
through
there was
collecting and customizing communities at the time, and how that was highway robbery and they weren't going to pay that, and nobody's going to pay that, and it's death of the line, and these figures are never going to get made again because that's nobody's going to buy them for $10. And what
well, it
you
turns
just
out people bought them and people are still buying them even at the increased price because the fact is prices go up on these things and whether you want to or not, whether you want to whether you want to pay it or particular people want to pay it or not does not change the fact that some people are going to pay it because that's what they want. They want to collect these things and they'll eat the cost. But
yeah.
yeah, the fact is we we like to look back and say, hey, this is how things used to be. But if you really think about it, now we see the same complaints. We saw the same complaints 15 years ago. We're seeing now on higher prices we see now, but also didn't have social media to deal with, where
Right.
everybody bitches about everything.
Yeah.
Um,
And the whole
so
point of that was the price on what I paid for this. Um, I went looking for it, saying that if I could find it for less than $100, I was going to pick it up because I figured that was absolutely the low ball price for something like this. Something where they're only made 500 of these things. I figured this would be a couple $100 easily, especially with the gimmicky packaging and the uniqueness of the figure. And I found it for 80 plus shipping.
you know, I don't. I wonder how big that convention itself was, like in relation to other conventions in Asia of the same type. Like, what did you say that con was called?
It's called Wonderfest, uh, Shanghai Wonderfest. I
Like,
think it's fairly big because a lot of the, so I follow but don't always buy a lot of the like Asian toy lines. So like Acid Rain, or yeah, Acid Rain, Planet Green Valley. Those are some fantastic 1/18 scale figures, but they're all very expensive. And the Planet Green Valley stuff's extremely hard to get because the production runs on those are so low. Um, but there was a lot of toy announcements in my feed from that convention this year. So it's got to be fairly big because a lot of toy companies, Asian toy companies, um, were announcing products at that. So like SH Fig Arts, I think, had a bunch of announcements.
Okay, yeah.
Companies like that.
So
That
Bandai Spirits and yeah,
yes,
so
yeah.
they're so it's probably similar to
New York Comic Con would be
yeah.
my
Okay.
prob.
So
It's probably not as big as like San Diego Comic Con, but I think it's probably New York Comic Con scale. And I could be
so
wrong on that. And if you guys, if anybody watching knows, throw it in the comments. I'd be like,
yeah, I'd be curious too. But so really 500 pieces for that particular exclusive, it probably is on the low end of things for what they might usually make the exclusives for, but it's also a very niche figure, so it makes sense.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And it would be kind of remiss of me to not like throw in a little bit of history about the whole thing there. So the whole thing is obviously Pimp Daddy Destro. So what year were those figures made?
1997.
97. So
The
as a
yeah,
joke,
the Toys R Us exclusive line that brought back what it was celebrating 15 years of GI Joe after the vintage toy line had gone away. Toys R Us said, "Well, we want a line of exclusives." So Hasbro pulled out whatever molds they had easily accessible and readily available and repainted them. Well, one of them was repainted. Well, there was a Destro figure that was repainted in it was a limited paint scheme. It was like leopard print, and they called it the Pimp Daddy Destro, and it was never meant to go to production.
it was done kind of
It,
as a joke by the production team. It was never meant to get released. A few of them did make it out. I don't know if it
yes,
was made to retail, but a few of them did make it out of the
yeah,
factory.
they have, yeah, they have been available. Yeah, I don't know that anybody ever walked into a Toys R Us and found the Pimp Daddy Destro instead of the magenta Destro that was meant to be sold, but there have been plenty that did make it to market somehow. I don't know, secondary market, whatever.
Secondary
So
market.
there are a lot of them out there, and by a lot, I mean it was still a limited run, but it there were enough of them for it to reach notoriety, and the the joke has been and the joke at the time has been followed up on in multiple forms because it's a kitschy figure that people wish that they could get, but they can't, so they buy tributes to it.
Right. And I have seen one of the original, the 1997 ones on the
Oh,
card.
you've actually seen one.
Yeah. So
Huh.
when I was in Houston, as an aside, there's a Kickstarter going right now for Dynamo Legends. They're doing their horses again. Looks like it got funded, so congratulations to those guys. Um, but one of the guys running it uh, is Alyosha from way back in the day. Anybody that's been
His
custom,
name's actually John Russell, but yeah, anybody that was on the forums in the early to mid 2000s, they'll from the Joe community, yeah, they'll recognize his username as Alyosha.
yep. So he's the one running that. So I hooked up with him when I was down there in Houston for a GI Joe convention. And he took us to a friend's house, and her toy collection is on par with the museum. I mean, the stuff that this gal had, I think she said she was closing in on having everything ever made by GI Joe. And I'm talking
Damn,
like worldwide stuff. I mean, she had
damn, like she had South American figures, Indian figure. Wow,
she had everything, and most of it was carded. I mean, she had stuff on the card. Uh,
nice.
had huge dioramas. Just it was a phenomenal collection. I'm glad I got to see it. It was amazing to see. She had a custom built sail barge that was super cool. It was about 4 feet long, and she had it decorated with figures from every 3 3/4 inch toy line that you could possibly imagine. It was super cool. I mean, there was Buck Rogers, there was Black Hole, there was G.I. Joe, there was Star Wars, you name it. She had the Star Trek, you name it. She
She
had.
had MASH figures on there, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. So it was super cool to see that. Um, and she had one of the Pimp Daddy Destros on a card, and I got to see that. And so I know I've seen a lot of people say that they don't exist and it's a custom and it's this and it's fake and it's that. And but no, they exist. And funny enough, when I posted that I got this on my customizing page, and then I noticed a couple days later in a Joy Toy group, somebody asking if the pictures were fake. They didn't link it back to me. They just saved my picture to their phone, and then they're like, "Is this guy, you know, basically saying, is this guy lying and saying that he has this?" And somebody's like, "No, it's an exclusive," and
Did
it
he mistake it for you having the 1997 figure or something?
no, I think he thought it was fake.
Weird.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm like, did you bother to look at the page that it was on? It's a customizing page. If I had made this, I'd be taking credit for it because I do make
yeah.
my own packaging. You can see some of it behind me there on the shelf. I mean, I do make my own packaging, obviously, and all of the figures that are carded in here are my are mine. I made these cards. I am happy to take credit for my own work. I did not make this. I wish I did because it's super cool. But um, the other things that I was going to show off real quick is because JD was talking about the homages to that original figure in 2007 at the San Diego Comic Con for the 25th anniversary of G.I. Joe. They did two versions of the Pimp Daddy Destro, one with the gold head and one with the silver head.
Um, yeah, it should be noted that the original Pimp Daddy Destro,
Those
when
are
it was packaged alongside Cobra Commander and the Baroness in those three packs, the
yeah,
Baroness and Cobra Commander were not, there were no variations on them. It was
correct.
the Battle Armor Cobra Commander in uh in this really cool shade of like cobalt blue,
Yeah,
and it was the Baroness also wearing her also the original mold, but mostly blue, and there were no variations on them. They were just packaged alongside the magenta colored Destro that was supposed to be made, and then there were a limited quantity of them packaged alongside this leopard print version. But yeah, Destro is the only one there's a rare variation on. So if you ever see anything posted with a Pimp Daddy Destro and some strange uh, Cobra Commander or Baroness, then yeah, that is probably a custom of some sort.
and of course, the Hiya toys are just smaller versions of the classified versions. So um, I'd been on the fence about getting this for a long time, but since I picked up the Hiya toys one, I decided, you know what, why not? So I picked up the classified version of the Prophet Director.
Yeah, I have that figure upstairs. It seeing the gold head on that figure really what it does, it makes me long for an Iron Grenadiers version of Destro in the classified line.
Yeah. Uh, Ruben made a pretty decent custom of that using the new Iron Grenadier body. So I think unless they do, I think that'd be a good place to start for that particular custom. So anyway, let's take a look at this Hyatt Toys one. Let's see how that.
Hey, cool.
Yeah. All right. So, it, I of course am, as JD will tell you, a sucker for gimmicky packaging. I absolutely love gimmicky packaging. Um, I have spent more money on figures because they came in cool packaging on figures that I did not want, but absolutely could not pass up the packaging that they came in. And this
I
is
like opening figures from gimmicky packaging and liberating them. Um,
so it comes in a
that's cool.
yeah, it comes in a gold suitcase like the one that came with the um the original figure. And then
Oh, okay, so it's not taped close or anything. It
it
just
was
opens.
I've opened it.
Oh, okay,
So in the top of the lid it says Cobra New World Order. In the bottom, just a bunch of $1 bills. And then it comes in the nice vacuum formed layout there.
that is cool.
So the accessories that it includes are, of course, an extra set of hands, um, the briefcase, the cape, the money that's on fire, sunglasses, pistol, a weapon for the that fits in the case, kind of reminiscent of the version 1 Destro. Uh, these little H pieces connect the figure stand to other figure stands made by Hiya Toys. So let's put a sign. I probably will put this back in the packaging afterwards, but maybe not. I don't know. I haven't decided how I'm going to display this yet.
And you're gonna save the package no matter what.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things that really fucking annoys me is that the peg holes in the Hiya Toys figures are different than every other action figure line ever, which is really fucking annoying.
So those stands can be used with any other line, and they don't, and those figures can't utilize any other stands.
Correct. So there's
Nice.
the inside of the case.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's got a little computer screen, a nice Cobra sigil that's sculpted in there. Apparently
Is
that
that what the inside of the case looked like with the classified? I can't even remember. I've had it for a couple of years. I can't even remember what it looked like inside.
I don't think so. No, well, there is a computer screen in the bottom and then money on the top.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
it's not
That money is so undetailed, like it's not
yeah,
really painted or anything.
not at
I
all.
think what Haya did there with just the Cobra sigil, I think that may have been a better choice.
Yeah.
Whoops.
So yeah, the pistol fits in there, and then at least I think it's supposed to. Maybe not.
Folks, I'm getting over being sick and I'm coughing up phlegm.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't fit in there very well. All right, I'm not going to force it. And then the pistol fits in the holster. There we go. Let's see. Is that kind of hard to do this?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is the cape not as well fitting as it
Oh, I'm just trying.
around the shoulders?
No, it fits on there pretty well. I'm just trying not to knock the camera over as I do it.
Oh, okay.
So there you
Oh
go.
yeah, it does fit. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, it's not bad.
No, not at all.
He's got weird glossy pants, or is that just the lighting?
No, they're pretty glossy.
That's interesting.
The whole
Um,
figure pretty much is pretty glossy. I think he also came with some sunglasses here too.
how
Yeah,
are the hands on those figures? Are they?
they're not too bad.
I was gonna say, are they kind of? You want to heat them up to put the accessories in, or no? They fit
No,
okay.
no, they're pretty rubbery. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I think I missed the glasses there. Yeah. One 1/18 scale sunglasses is an accessory that has long been needed. They look kind of goofy on there, but
A little bit, but you know what? They're they're sunglasses over his beryllium uh form fitting helmet or his mask that so it's not particularly realistic anyway. So
there we go.
um the flames, the way they did those on that figure blows the shitty paint that they used on the classified version out of the water.
Yeah, they did a really good job with the painting with the paint apps on this thing. They're fantastic.
Like
The
the semi-translucent, like it like that is so much better than the flat orange paint Hasbro used. It's kind of it's kind of sad.
So there you go. There is the Hiya Toys Profit Director Destro. The Shanghai Shanghai Wonder Festival exclusive, limited to 500 pieces. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, I thought so. All right, let's see if I can figure out how to undo this now.
And without having a third screen, I've got a figure to show off after Brian's done. Um,
There we go. So
well,
yeah,
that's,
look at us being technically proficient for
I was
one.
gonna say we made a technological breakthrough today. We're one more step beyond being Luddites. So
Yeah, so yeah, comment below. Did that work pretty well? Is it annoying? I don't know.
I think it's cool. Now I want to now when I review stuff, yeah, I want to try the same thing.
Absolutely. I think that's gonna be
I need to get a tripod.
yeah,
Um,
I got a cheap one off of Amazon for like $10. Just get a you can get a cell phone tripod for oh,
um, so with Super 7 putting out their first articulated O-ring style Joes, um, for a little while now, the Snake Eyes has been calling to me. I just finally broke down and said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna buy it. Um,
I am
I
tempted.
knew from the outset that the weird blue color they used on some of the parts was too bright for. It's supposed to be Snake Eyes from the comics
Yeah.
because right around issue 46, 47, Snake Eyes was wearing his version 2 outfit, but the way it was colored, some of the spots were like a darker gray or like a like a dark teal type color, but for reasons I don't understand, they picked a weird bright primary blue color, not like neon like Battlecore. It's just a weird,
It's close though.
but like it stands out the same way. But
Yeah.
I just I immediately painted mine as soon as I opened it. I sent a I sent the first picture to Brian. He's like, that blue is horrible. I'm like, well, nothing's in paint can fix. So I did fix it. I did paint the weird blue highlights. So he's gray. He's gray and black, just like he should be. He's not quite black. Unlike the original version 2 Snake Eyes from 1985 that was black and dark gray, this guy is it's a super dark like pavement gray, but I repainted because originally the wrists and the anklets and the actual feet
Yeah.
were that weird bright blue, but the rest of it wasn't. And so I repainted it gray. I repainted the feet so they were more version 2 style, so they matched the rest of the outfit. And the gray I picked is a little lighter than, but I couldn't match it exactly. But
That would drive me crazy. I would just fucking primer that whole thing, paint it black, and then do the gray all at
yeah,
once.
you would. But
I
I
may
am.
still because it's I've been tempted by that figure as well. I've got a huge pile of loot at Big Bad Toy Store just waiting for me to ship, and the bat is in that and that also has some it's comic book colored as well. And I'm seriously considering repainting that in original colors, but I haven't decided on that.
um
But
well,
Snake Eyes has been calling to me for the same reason, is because it's not a bad figure. It looks like a
no,
really nice update
no. In fact,
Earthly
I
2 and
I really like the sculpt of it. I The only complaint I have is, and I mentioned it on the show before, is that this figure has a swivel neck instead of the up and down ball joint. It
uh,
only swivels side to side, but it's not as annoying to me with the figure in hand as I thought it might be. But now I don't have version one. No, I don't have a 1985 version 2 Snake Eyes. But what I do have is
but it's on the card.
one of, no, I don't. But
I
I do
I
have,
do, but I have it. I have one, but it's on the card still.
I'm sorry. But I do have one of the Black Major repaints, the
Ah,
custom repaints he did, because I bought this originally because it was in purple and black, just like when version 2 Snake Eyes showed up on the Sunbow cartoon in the first miniseries. I think it was Pyramid of Darkness. He was wearing dark blue and black, um, or dark blue and purple. Was he? No, but it, uh, following that miniseries, the rest of Snake Eyes' appearances in the Sunbow cartoon, he was basically purple and gray.
yeah.
So I bought this Black Major repaint because it was purple and black, kind of cartoon style. Originally, he had a silver Cobra sigil, but I used a plastics eraser and I took that off there because I wanted him to be Snake Eyes, not Cobra Mortal. But it's not going to come very well on the screen. But here's the two sculpts. They're similar while not being the same.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
I
wanted to see
actually,
it side by side actually, so I'm glad you're doing that.
yeah, hang on.
Yeah,
Oh, and by the way, the invisible stands they're on, they're the Grindstone Toys Operation Longbow stands. So it turns out those stands are good for Black Major production level customs
ah,
and the Super 7 Reaction Plus G.I. Joe figures.
and
So,
of course the
uh,
vintage they'll go with the vintage real American Hero figures too.
yeah.
It's
So,
big whole size.
yep. So, good job, Troy. Good job, Mike. But yeah, putting them next to each other.
That's John.
Uh, huh?
John.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's John. I'm sorry. Um,
Uh
but yeah, so
had a
really,
lot of tests recently, so
yeah. So really, those stands they made, they really do fit a variety of
they do.
O-ring figures. But
Uh as an aside to that, also the O-ring figures that are coming with the Transformer crossover figures have the same peg hole size as those figures. It's the Super
yeah,
7, the Black
so
Major, and the vintage Real American Hero figures. And of
All
course,
right, so really, you can see there's a difference. The snake eyes from Super Seven is a little thinner, not quite as muscly, but honestly, it's comparable. I really dig this figure. Once I repainted it in the original colors, it's terrible, but
it is.
I don't really like the sword he comes with, so I gave it to the 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 Snake Eyes, the Black Major Snake Eyes. It's not bad. It's just it's a little more Excalibur than Katana, and it might be accurate to what was on the show. I don't remember because Snake Eyes didn't always use the swords in the show. But um, I think it works nicely with the cartoon style, uh, the purple Snake Eyes. But I need a katana and a better backpack for him because
I was
the
gonna say
backpack
it wouldn't be that hard to get
yeah
the version two Snake Eyes accessories. You could get them in the Uzi and the backpack and the sword,
yeah
probably pretty cheap.
and I'm going to because there's something about that the unique sword that version 2 Snake Eyes came with the it's super sharp. It's absolutely lethal looking. It is it is it's unique to Snake Eyes version 2 and this Snake Eyes absolutely needs it. The
Agree.
backpack he came with is pretty nicely sculpted, but it doesn't hold it's got a slot for the sword, but the sword only goes halfway down. It doesn't accommodate it very well and uh it's again, yeah, the same bright blue. Imagine the bright blue covering the feet of this figure,
There you go.
and
That's the I think that
yeah,
and when you look at pictures, the blue looks brighter than what the backpack does. It's because the backpack, the paint on the backpack looks matte, where the paint on the figure is glossy,
yeah,
and that just that glossiness makes that blue even more difficult to ignore. I mean, it's I won't say it's hard to look at, but it's hard not to notice it.
yeah. It is, and it's not. Again, it's a nice shade of blue.
It
It
is.
doesn't work for a
What they
comic, uh, a comic, a comic inspired Snake Eyes figure. Where when you look at the panels, in fact, I'll have Brian drop one of the panels into the show right here. You can see that the color he uses is much darker, and so it's just a strange choice by Super 7 to go this way. So it's not bad, but it doesn't work for a comic Snake Eyes. But honestly, this figure, I love the head sculpt. I I just he it works. It really works. I think I want to get the CoverGirl figure now. Um, I may get a bat. I don't care about bats, but it's a nice looking figure. It's a nicer looking figure than the version 1 bat because I've never liked the version 1 bat. When I was a kid, I didn't care about the bats until version 2 came out when it was orange and when
black.
it was neon orange and neon green. But I did kind of wonder what the Super 7 bat would look like in the version 2 bat colors, but never mind. Um, I will still skip Cobra Commander because I don't care about Cobra Commander, but um, I think Super 7 is off to a pretty decent start here. Um,
Yeah, as much as people, there's definitely a subset of people that think that the O-ring figures are a step backwards. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a group of toy makers going for a specific niche of collectors, and there are still a lot of those
there are still a lot of O-ring only Joe collectors.
yeah.
They'll buy new O-ring stuff or they'll buy compatible figure lines to go with their Joes, but they don't they still stick with the vintage O-ring style. It's not a small number. It's
No,
not a niche market.
and there is an
Um,
actually a customizer that's in my feed. I think it's Brian Powell, I think is his name.
yeah,
Uh,
He does really great
oh,
customs,
we
and he
need
only does O-ring customs.
to get him on
Um,
the show. Message, yeah, we'll have to message him and ask him if he'll be on General Geekery because his paint apps are amazing. I mean, they're on par, if not better than mine, and does production level like paint jobs. I mean, there he is a fantastic customizer.
he did a sneak peek custom that was a repaint of the vintage sneak peek. But I like the color scheme that he came up with so much for his sneak peek repaint that when I decided to do a classified sneak peek, I used his color scheme on my sneak peek custom.
Huh.
Um, so, um, but yeah, I think I don't know what Super Seven's future plans are for this line, but I think they're off to a decent start. Um, I actually kind of wish I had a version one Storm Shadow to go with this guy because I do have again at least one, maybe two Black Major repaints of Storm Shadow, but I don't actually have a classic Storm Shadow to go with it.
Did the Hasbro Pulse sell out of the Snake Eyes Storm Shadow 2 pack?
No, but it's $50, and I only want Storm Shadow um, because
It
they did
basically
a version one Snake Eyes. The art on the box is a version two Snake Eyes versus Storm Shadow, but the Snake Eyes in the box is a version one Snake Eyes, and I don't know why they did that, and it bothers me, and I don't want to pay that much uh for a box that I only want one of the figures out of.
yeah, fair.
But yeah, that's really we just had a small show planned. We just decided Brian wanted to review Destro, and I'm like, well, I might as well talk about Snake Eyes if we're gonna do it. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and I wanted to try because I kind of when I edit the shows, I kind of sometimes I'll sit and rewatch the show, and I'm like, we do a lot of figure reviews, but we don't really show the figures. And then I watch a lot of other guys that do figure reviews, and they do a much better job because they've got it like right there on the camera. I'm like, you know what? I bet if I did a put it on my phone while we're doing this, I could do that, and we could do it like all at one time and I wouldn't have to do any like post-process editing. And so I really wanted to try that too. So it was a chance um to review the Hiya Toys Pimp Daddy Destro, to say, yeah, it's a real thing. It's out there.
it exists.
It exists. It's pretty cool. Grab one if you can get them. Um, because the collectability of that thing, that is not going to devalue at any point in time, I don't think. Just
No, but the prices will go up if you're
yeah,
trying to buy one a couple years from now. If you get into the highest stuff a couple years from now and it's still out there and you want one of those, you're probably going to pay more than you paid now. So
I would recommend it. Just because it's a cool figure. I mean, they did a really good job with it. The articulation's fantastic. The build is great. They did a good job on all the accessories. Um, and if you're a collector, it's I won't say it's a grail piece, but man, it might be. And it might be someday, just due to the fact that they only made
yeah,
500 of these things. I've seen probably three other collectors in the United States that have posted in my feed that have it. Maybe three, two for sure that I know I've seen. Um, so I mean, there's not a lot of them out there, obviously. But there you go. Yeah, that's about all we have for this particular episode. Um, Please do all that fun social media stuff. Like, share, subscribe, comment below. You got suggestions for the show, things you want to see, things you want to, people you want to see on the show. Let us know. Um, I do look at the comments. I don't always get back to people right away, but we do look at the comments, and um, we do make adjustments based on what people suggest. Like the Colbert questionnaire, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. A lot of people find that very interesting, and they're because a lot of the guests that you see on the show, they're on other podcasts too, but nobody's doing what we're doing.
Um, yeah, I like to. Um, you know, if we're gonna have guests on, I want to have like I don't want to just have hobby related. I mean, hobby related is good because part of our questionnaire, the changes we made, is hobby related. But
Absolutely.
I'd like to ask a few real things, find out what makes these people tick. So,
Yeah, and we, like I said, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. People are very interested to see that. So, thank you to everybody that's commented on that and said that they've enjoyed that
yeah,
segment.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Um, you know,
I
we're
do want to get some people back on the show so that we can give them the questionnaire that we've had on the show previously.
I'd like
So
to get like Panama and Mike Hatch, and we
they're
need
the
to
two I was thinking of. Yeah.
get Jimbo on some point in time too. I bet that would be pretty interesting to have Jimbo on. But anyway, please do all that fun social media stuff. Like, share, subscribe, comment below, suggestions, comments. We do take a look at them. And as always, thanks for watching.
Thanks.